Zandile Khumalo-Gumede started her testimony in the North Gauteng High Court today, having lost her bid to not have it broadcast live. She had petitioned the court, citing fearing for her life. Khumalo-Gumede was in the house on the night soccer star Senzo Meyiwa was killed in their mother's home in Vosloorus. She broke down after pointing to accused number 2 as one of the intruders who came into their family home that fateful night in 2014. SABC News reporter Ofentse Setimo has the latest from today's proceedings. Ofentse, let's start with that moment when Kelly Khumalo, when Khumalo-Gumede identified accused number 2, asking whether the accused were aware of how much their lives were affected by the events on the night Meyiwa was murdered.
Yes, actually, Advocate Sipora Motsepele, who's actually representing accused number 1 and 2, who were actually implicated by Khumalo's rent, were actually objected to it, saying that it's uncalled for the witness to actually address the accused in court, instead of actually addressing the court directly. So he actually objected to that, saying that, she should rather stick to addressing the court instead of addressing the accused in court.
State Advocate George Beloy asked Khumalo-Gumede to tell the court about the relationship between her sister Kelly and Senzo. What did she say?
Well, she said that they were actually having quite a romantic relationship, where it sounded like, it was someone who Senzo Meyiwa was actually able to take around to his soccer colleagues, actually mentioning that there was one time when they were supposed to go to a party of Roy Mahamuta, who was actually a Pirates player at the time. But then when they arrived there, they found that the party had not actually begun. And then that's when they went to an event they were booked for. That is Zandile Khumalo-Gumede and Kelly Khumalo were supposed to perform at that particular gig, and Senzo actually went with them, accompanying them. So it sounded like a couple that was actually inseparable and actually enjoyed each other's company.
What are some of the highlights? I mean, we'll go back to her not wanting to have her testimony broadcast and what the judge decided. So we'll go there in just a moment. But just in terms of other revelations or other details that the court heard about that fateful night, what else was shared?
Well, we actually heard that apparently there was about 3 shots that actually rang out. The first shot that actually rang out scared everyone that was actually in the kitchen, having a scuffle with the 2 intruders who actually ran in different directions. Zandile Khumalo-Gumede mentioning that she actually ran to the nearby bathroom where she hid for her life, But while in there, that's when the second shot actually rang out. And when the third shot rang out, that's when she could tell that this actually hit someone because the sound was different from the first 2 sounds that actually rang out when the firearm went off. So she was quite emotional as well, when she was mentioning the fact that she was scared for her life, actually wondering if maybe the intruder could come to the other side of the bathroom and try to shoot her through the window.
Were you able to observe the conduct of the accused as she was giving testimony?
Yes, I actually was able to observe, we saw when she actually broke down, they actually pointing to accused number 2 and accused number 1, saying they were the ones who were the actual intruders that actually broke into the house. It seemed like someone who, genuinely broke down, considering the trauma that she might have went through. Considering that she's also in a position where she's testifying against a defense counsel that have made up a story to say that the witnesses are actually making up what actually transpired on the day, saying there was actually no intruder, especially after the previous witness actually testified, saying that he could not identify the firearm itself, nor the barrel or how it actually looked, and the fact that he could not even differentiate a toy gun from a real gun.
So many divergent views, hey, Ofentse, as you observe the trial and what each of the witnesses or those who have been called and summoned to court to give testimony are sharing. Let's go back to the start of the proceedings when Judge Maumela said that Khumalo-Gumede didn't give enough reasons to justify limitations to broadcasting her testimony live. How did she seem to take that?
You mean Zandile Khumalo-Gumede, how she reacted to the judgment itself?
That's correct.
Well, in reaction to it, we didn't really get a sense of her reaction in particular. As you can imagine, that she was put in a position where should she not testify, under the circumstances where we, as the media, are allowed to broadcast, she was actually going to be subpoenaed. So you can imagine she was actually between a wall and a hard place where she eventually would have had to testify whether she liked it or not.
Give us a sense of how long she's likely to testify.
I believe that, she will definitely testify into next week, because you can imagine that counsel for accused number 1 and 2, counsel for accused number 3, counsel for accused number 4, and counsel for accused number 5 all have to take her through a cross-examination and try, to take her through her testimony and try to poke holes at her testimony. As I mentioned earlier, that, their viewpoint is to say that the whole story of intruders was actually made up by those that were in the house on the fateful night that Senzo Meyiwa actually lost his life.
Ofentse Setimo, thank you very much for sharing with us the latest on the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial coming out of the North Gauteng High Court.